Greetings, fellow Demon Slayers. This is Timon and Mari here today with another League of Maidens video. So for today, I don't want to really do any guides. I kind of want to just talk about the game because I've recently broken 300 hours and I thought, wow, I've been playing this game for 300 hours. So I'm gonna do this stronghold. I'll do some gameplay while I chat. I just pretty much want to give people like a yay or nay on whether they should get the game or not from the perspective of someone who's actually been playing it, because a lot of reviews for games come out day one or within the first week, and those people haven't really digested the game. So after 300 hours, I think I have a pretty good idea. With all that being said, the first thing I want to talk about since I'm playing is the gameplay loop. So this is your typical grinder dungeon crawler game. So don't expect the game to not be repetitive. If a repetitive gaming experience isn't your bag, you should stay away. If it is your bag, you should stick around because the game is definitely fun. There's a lot of content, and honestly, I didn't really start feeling any burnout till maybe the 250 hour mark. I've slowed down a lot just because the one issue with games like this is you can grind your face off until your character is kind of OP. And then you get to a point where nothing in the game is really a challenge anymore. So improving your character doesn't really appeal to you any longer, just simply because they're already able to just pretty much face tank any piece of content in the game and blow it up. So yeah, you will probably get that feeling unless you're just someone who can kind of play a godly character without any boredom, but me personally, I like striving to be able to clear things, and the game just doesn't have any reason to go over plus 21 with your death invitations when you're in Freedom City, and it doesn't have any reason to go over plus 15 when you're in Necropolis Desert, simply because you don't get any more rewards as far as shards and golds. They don't get higher after that multiplier. So I think one thing they could do is just allow the multiplier for your rewards to go higher. That way it's worth it to actually challenge and apply yourself. Because at the moment, as you can see, this character is kind of brain dead, just running through the dungeon. She uses a skill and maybe a couple melees and she's done with a room. So, with all that being said, do I think the game is fun? Yes, I enjoy it. I love grinding games like this, but I also grew up with games like Diablo and Phantasy Star, so I feel right at home right at home here. Another thing I can say that's a huge plus is, as you can see, we have Jiggle, ooh, Jiggle, and then the Booty Jiggle. So if you like looking at Jiggle on your waifus, you'll definitely get that here. The game is not shy about being sexy. The character creator is amazing. I enjoy the character creator. It's fun to see what you can come out with. I've kind of stopped messing around in there because I'm really stuck on this character. I find her super adorable. Cause cute little tiger waifu who's a warrior, sign me up. I like her. This thing. So yeah, the character creators all around good. The only thing I can say is I do agree with is the faces can be a little hard to work with. I've heard some people go so far as to call them butter faces. I don't think that the creator features butter faces, but I do think it's hard to get a look you want for your character's face. I don't know, it's something with the way the creator lets you sculpt faces. I've also heard complaints about I guess the butt slider since we're on the subject. I personally don't mind the butt slider. I think this is a pretty cute butt. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just not too picky, but yeah, I've heard complaints about the butt slider, but I think all the sliders for your character's proportions as far as her body work really great. It's just the face slider that I have a little bit of a disconnect with. So as far as character creation, yeah, if you haven't played the game yet and you're on the fence and you're watching this video, you can definitely make something you like. You can definitely make something that looks nightmarish if you want to be a troll. You can do whatever you want. It's a really, really good creator. It has more sliders than most games on the market. Next, we're going to talk about, I guess, skills. So, in this game, there's this issue where gear doesn't really seem to matter as much. This character is geared, she's in her Ascension gear, so she's got a nice 11k power level. But even if she didn't have this, it would still be the same case as she would still be one-shotting these maps. simply because like she has heavy investment in her skills. So like one example would be this dragon skill here. It's sitting here at level 12, and her projectile here is actually max level. It's level 15. And like I could have all these skills higher level. I just kind of stopped because I noticed around, I want to say skill level 10, I think it is, that you just kind of snowball beyond the game. Like you don't even need a max level skill to be able to blow things off the map. Like for example, this boss has 21 death invitations, and if I just do a circle and throw this, she's dead. Like I was hitting for 85k, and I don't even think that last hit was a critical. So, it's just really easy. Like, and it's unfortunate because your skills are so OP that gear can almost take a back seat in this game. And that's a problem just because when you're playing like a dungeon crawler or any sort of game where you farm like gear, not it doesn't have to necessarily be a loot game, it could be an MMO too. If there's a way to like kind of bypass needing gear, it negates the whole point of the game because the reason we grind here is for gear. Because materials like they're not really something that's difficult to acquire. You can set your character in places and just swap between characters to farm ores. Like, yeah, you will have to kill some enemy types, but again, they don't pose that much of a challenge where you even need gear to kill them in the first place. So, like, skills kind of can snowball out of control if you know where you're looking for the mats. Like I said, this isn't a guide vid, so I won't really go into that here, but yeah, mats kind of end up being greater than gear in this game, and they're a lot easier to obtain than like a great gear set, which is odd. Like, I mean, I don't mind it, but it's odd because most games go the opposite route where your skills can be good, yeah, but but like your gear is really what you're going for, and that's where most of your power comes from. Another weird thing about this game is when you level up, you actually don't get stronger. Like a level up at this point, like besides achievements, I really don't see a value in it for leveling up your character. Besides, they meet the requirements to equip gear. So like certain pieces of gear, like I think you need to be like, Ascension level 10, and your account level may need to be 10. And I think for the gear I'm wearing now, yeah, she needs to be at least 15, which is the current cap. But outside of reaching that level just to remove the red tape of what your character can wear and do, there's really no other value in it. You're not going to get stronger as you level up. Which is, again, a little bit weird. I don't know what's up with the design choice there, but it's not enough to, like, tell someone to not play the game. Just realize your skills are OP if you're going to pick this game up, and focus on leveling your skills. And they tell you what materials you need, so you can easily, like, look at one of my vids or look at any sort of video regarding getting materials. It's not hard to do. Now, next I want to talk about like enemy variety. The game has some neat enemy variety. Like, there's only 2 maps right now. So I'd say like there's more than enough enemies for the current game we have. It's just, again, there's only 2 maps, so there just isn't much here, which I'm not going to hold against them because the game's in alpha, so, there's a couple maps to do. There's certainly a lot of playtime here, but again, the problem is that playtime comes from a repetitive standpoint, so if you're someone who's kind of a one and done kind of gamer where it's like, okay, I beat Seraph Demon, which is the first boss, and then you beat Isis, and then you get through the game and say you beat Union. Once you're done with Union, there's really no new content as far as combat. You are going to just be grinding what exists already and doing the same thing over and over. You can farm a gauntlet like to craft for your character, but I mean most people probably may have gotten one by that point because you would have had to kill a bunch of bosses to gear up or prepare to fight Union, because you do need some sort of investment in skills. So if you didn't luck into a gauntlet for whatever reason by then, yeah, you can do a gauntlet mission or side quest when you beat the game. But the issue with that is it's not doing anything different than you were already doing. You will still be kind of relegated to just farming the same content and, just gathering materials to make the gauntlet. That's really what the game turns into, is it's a material grinder. That time I didn't kill her. It's all good though. Come here. Thank you. So yeah, the game pretty much just turns into sort of a material grinder as opposed to a gear grinder. Outside of that, like, there's not really much else to say. There are some great features in the game that, like, I wish they would kind of exploit a bit more. Like, there's a great jukebox function in the base, but unfortunately, you can't actually take the jukebox music out of the base with you. Like, while you're in the base, it will play, but once you leave the base, it kind of turns off. So that's unfortunate because the jukebox is really neat. The game overall is really pretty to look at. The maidens are visually appealing. Like I said, I'm stuck on her. I think she's adorable. The game as far as monetization is rather tame in my opinion. I know they've gotten a lot of flack about say the cash shop. And again, I made a more in-depth video about this, but we'll open up the cash shop here since I'm talking about it. And as you can see here, it's really more just it's just all cosmetic stuff. Let me grab these. There's nothing here that's gonna say, oh, you're gonna pay a certain amount of money and you're gonna just win the game. That doesn't exist here. Everything here is cosmetic. Even these weapons, they don't do anything but change the look of your item. The same thing with these shields. And then as far as that, you can buy races, wings for your back, assets, which I don't even see a point in buying these because I barely care about how the soldiers and how these ships and tanks look. And then you can buy hairstyles, mask, ears, tails, just general cosmetics. These have no bearing on stats. The only thing in this cash shop that is remotely have any effect on gameplay would be this storage here. That has an effect on gameplay. And that's one of the things I do suggest someone buy first if they are going to invest money in this game. Outside of the storage, the only other thing that affects gameplay would be a pet, and that's just simply because they loot for you. But even then, you can loot yourself, it's just a little more time consuming. But the game overall, as a general rule, is a time consuming game since it's a grinder. So whether you loot for yourself or not, it doesn't much matter. As far as character power, there's no paywalling here. This isn't going to be like most free-to-play games at Black Desert, for example, or we'll say any sort of gacha game where you have to pull for your gear. That doesn't exist here. If you play the game, your character will get more powerful, and it won't cost you a dime. The only thing that will cost you money is making your character look, a certain way, and you'll kind of be stuck with kind of a basic looking outfit unless you pay or unless you get to end game and work on this battle pass here, which I've gone over this before, but essentially by the end of it you'll have a set that looks like what I'm mousing over. If that interests you, yeah, that's a free set you can definitely earn. And it says here they'll add more battle passes in the future, or it doesn't say it here, but they have said they'll add more battle passes. So with that being said, there'll be other free skins. It's just up to you to stick with the game. The only other thing I want to talk about for this video is kind of this race to 1 million thing. I love it. I love that they have a system in place that pretty much rewards the community for growing. I just think they overshot it with 1 million players. Right now we're at 195k, so we're about to get this secondary reward. But the odds of finishing this, I'm not sure if that's going to happen. I don't know how long they plan to keep this campaign up, though. But I think, if any devs see this, maybe they should have a talk about lowering it, to maybe 400 or 500k players. I think 200k players for, a free-to-play game from an indie studio is already really respectable. Most games I play don't even have 100k players, like Action Time, and I'm pretty sure the community there is really small. But yeah, 1 million players, I just think it's a little rough, for your alpha to expect that. So yeah, that's pretty much League of Maidens in a nutshell. You're grinding, you're grinding, and you're grinding, and that's fine. If you're into fashion, you can definitely do that too. But just be advised that certain fashions will run you some money. Outside of that, though, you can make your maiden pretty much look however you want, and she'll be a knockout pretty much no matter what you do. Look at her. I mean, the models in this game are just genuinely adorable, or I guess sexy, or however you want to put it. Regardless of what you do to them, they're made to be appealing. So let me ice this world boss, and while I wrap things up. Oh, that's another thing, I guess, while I'm shooting stuff. The gunplay. I've heard complaints about the gunplay. It's really not that bad. It's not going to feel like super snappy and like responsive, like, say, something like Call of Duty or like Destiny, I guess, or if you play Halo, like, Halo has a really good feel when you're shooting. But, like, yeah, the running and gunning doesn't feel like some AAA titles that exist, but it's not bad by any means. Like, yeah, I hit the button, I shoot. Like, it's serviceable, it does its job. I don't have any issue with the gunning personally, but I can see. Did she disappear? Oh, oh no, she got knocked over there. Okay, that looked really weird. I was just like, where'd she go? Because she usually like flies up or something slowly. God, I really wish she'd drop her gauntlet so I can start farming here. But yeah, outside of all of what I said, like, it's a good game. It's fun to play. If you're looking for something that you can spend your time, this is definitely the game for you. It's a great time waster. It's riddled with dailies, so you'll always have something to do. The game isn't super demanding. Like, yeah, if you miss your dailies, like, you'll miss out on these weekly challenge rewards, which you already get epic crates daily anyway, so these aren't a huge miss if you don't log in a day. And again, like, the items that you can choose for doing a full week aren't really a huge miss if you don't log in a day. I actually have like my daily streak messed up because the game bugged and certain missions wouldn't complete regardless of me, you know, doing them. So that's one thing that I'll just, ignore and say, "Hey, it's an alpha, there will be bugs." So I'm not too bugged about that. But the game doesn't force you to log in. Like, if you don't do your dailies, you're not going to miss anything. You could just always skip a day, take a break. So if you're feeling burnt out, it's not a big deal. And outside of that, I think that's pretty much it. The only other thing I want to talk about is like bosses, but I don't need to be really fighting them to do that. The issue with bosses is the same thing. They die really fast, and it's not so much big of a deal with like the stronghold bosses, but as you can see, what I just killed is a world boss, and Union kind of goes the same way. Once you're geared enough, she's possible to one shot also. I do love Union. She's my favorite boss because she does introduce like game mechanics where you have to actually like respect her until you're geared enough to blow her off the map. And I do hope in the future like they implement more bosses like that because I think like Union's a good direction to go towards. The other thing I sincerely want is just multiplayer sooner than later because as of the time of me talking about the game here, there just isn't any multiplayer. And that's unfortunate because the game would really, really benefit from multiplayer. One, because you can show your maiden off to other people without having to use like convoluted systems that exist in the game. Like you could just play with your friends, so it would make playing a little bit less, I don't want to say boring, but less like burnouty, because it's like someone who I spoke to about the game said it perfectly. He said, as of right now, League of Maidens just feels like a game where I log in to pat myself on the back, because you're alone. So like I can get on this character, I can run around, I can one shot anything I want and feel like an OP goddess. But it just loses its luster if you're not doing it with your friends, because it's like meh. And the other thing that would be cool with multiplayer is maybe they can scale the game up like for multiple people to make the fights harder and make it realistic where death can be a problem because right now like the only times I've died like since I've gotten geared and gotten to end game is when something happens like my controller dies because I play on my controller. So, but outside of those like random scenarios where your controller dies or desyncs, death really isn't a problem in this game. It's really easy, and even if you stack a bunch of death invitations, the game doesn't necessarily get harder. The enemies just get more spongy, and as you can see, you can still one-shot them. So, I've rambled. Like, I think I've covered pretty much everything. The game is good. Like if I had to suggest playing the game, I definitely suggest like yes, this is a good game. Like you should pick it up. The only people who I say shouldn't play this game are people who don't like repetition, people who don't like grinding, which is understandable and I know I've said that before, but I can't stress it enough. This game is a grinder. So even if you're someone who claims to like grinding, this still may be too grindy for you. And if you feel like the game is too grindy, like I understand, I get you, and no hard feelings, move on. Like it's just not for you. But outside of the grind, the only other thing I guess would be inventory space, where without storage it can feel a bit limited. Like I run around with full inventory, like for the most part, but if you don't have this storage box here, things can get really bad for you because the game just throws a lot of items in your inventory. So if you're someone who doesn't like having your inventory flooded, or if you're someone who doesn't like inventory management in general, again, this might not be the game for you. But I can't fault the game for that because most dungeon crawlers have inventory management where you have to kind of just go into your inventory and say, hey, I have to sort this out, I have to sell this, I have to use these mats or whatever. So that's not really exclusive to this game. That's just something that the genre does. So, yeah, I'm going to end the video here. I do hope you guys found it helpful or informative. I hope you guys give the game a shot. As far as like other reasons to not play, if you wanted to play with friends, you just can't do that here as of yet. But the devs seem to be interested in doing that from what I've read and heard, so multiplayer should come in the future, and that's probably like my most anticipated thing for this game, because it'll one like rekindle my interest, because I'm a little bit burnt out just because my character's done. Like I have two characters that are geared for in game, and it's just I don't really want to make a third, but if I did, she'd be geared too because I have a bunch of gear saved already. So it's kind of just like a point of I have nothing to really work towards, and that sucks, but hey, I got 300 hours, which I think for a totally free-to-play game is 100% worth it, and I think League of Maidens is worth checking out. So, you boys and gals have a great rest of your day. Have good luck out there farming if you decide to play the game. The bosses have some pretty sick loot, and I hope you guys can earn it. And you all go ahead, take care, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow with another video. Bye-bye.